Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial on coding an enemy sprite and adding some mechanics to our projectiles and our main character. So the first thing that you need to do is load your current project. And so we've been working on this project for a few days now. We have our dragon, we have our background, and we have our fireball coded. So now what we're doing today is we're going to be adding our first enemy. And so to do that, we're going to be adding a sprite here. And so you see that we have our sprite that's going to show up. Now what you need to do is drag the graphic from today's folder, which is going to be named enemy sprite. And so it should look like this spaceship right here. Pretty good looking enemy, if I do say so myself. And so we're going to name this as enemy 1. So make sure you name that as enemy 1. And it looks like it's in a pretty good position. So now we're going to start coding this. And so the first thing that we always need to do is go up to our control tab, and we're going to hit when the green flag is clicked. That's going to tell us to what our enemy is going to do. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set a size for this first of all, because this is a little bit big compared to the dragon. So we're going to go over to our looks tab, and we're going to get set size, right? So we're going to set size to, and let's do 85%. Let's start, see how that looks. We're going to hit show. Okay, looks pretty good compared to the dragon. Okay, so set size to 85%. And the next thing we're going to do is go to we're going to stay in the looks tab, and we are going to choose the hide. Okay, because we want this to hide when it first starts. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is go back to our control tab, and we're looking for our forever module. So what the forever module is going to do is say, hey, when this is clicked, we're going to set our size, we're going to hide, and then forever, we're going to be creating clones. Okay, so same thing we did kind of with the background. We're going to be creating clones of ourselves. They're going to be coming from this direction. Okay, so now we want to go to our, let's see if we can find it. So is it going to be, there it is. Okay, so it's in control. And so we're going to wait, and we're going to wait 2 seconds. Okay, so that way every 2 seconds there's going to be a new clone that comes out. And now we're going to create a clone. So we're going down to create a clone of myself. Okay, and so that's the first block that we need to have. Okay, now the second block that we need to do is when I start as a clone. So remember, the first one we have is with the green arrow, when the green flag is clicked. The next one we're doing is when I start as a clone. So this is telling the clone what to do when it starts. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is go over to our looks, and we're going to hit show. So when I start as a clone, show. So when the green flag is clicked, it's hiding. Now it's going to, when it starts, it's going to show. And we're going to go to motion, and we're going to go to our X and our Y axis, right? Now, so remember, we want this to be we want the enemy to be coming from this direction, okay? And so remember, we have a X and Y axis. This is our positive 180, our negative 180. This side is negative 240, and so this side is going to be positive 240. And so our X is going to be 240. And then our Y, we want it to be randomized, okay? So we're going to be picking a random spot. So we're going to go to our operators, and we're looking for a random tab. And so we're going to pick a random area. And so remember what I said. This is positive 180, and this is negative 180. So we're going to start off with the negative. So negative 170, because we do want it to show fully on the screen, to positive 170. And so what that's going to do is it's going to be on this axis, right? And it's going to be coming from this direction, and it's going to randomly generate or spawn new enemies coming from this direction, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that. So we're going to go back up to control. And so now I'm looking for a repeat. There we go. And so I'm going to go repeat until, and now we have to change our X position. So we need operators, and I'm going to look for a less than symbol. Okay, and so what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be saying repeat until my X position, right? Because that's this side of the screen. And so I'm going back over to motion. I'm going to pick up an X position is less than negative 240. Okay, and so what this is going to do is it's going to repeat until the X position comes onto the negative 240, right? So this is the positive 240 and this is the negative 240. And now I'm going to go change. Let's see here. Let me do a. I'm going to do change by. Let's go. I want to do a change X by. Yeah, let's do a change X by. And then we're going to go -3. And what this is going to do is set our speed. Okay, so this is how fast our our enemy is going to be flying. And so the reason why I set it at -3 is because remember on our background, we have our background scrolling at -2. So we want our enemy to be going a little bit faster than the background, which is going to make it look like it's flying forward. Okay, so we're going to change X by -3, and then when it hits that X position of less than -240, we want to delete that clone. So we're going to go over here to where it says delete this clone, and this is our second block. So now we have our first two blocks done, and now what we need to do is put in some effects, right? Some motion effects. So if it touches the dragon or if it gets to the edge, what happens to that fireball or that clone, right? And so what we need to do is when I start as a clone, right? Again, another forever block. And so now what we're going to do is we're looking for if then. So this is an if then block. So I'm going to say if it's touching the dragon. Let's choose dragon here. So if it's touching the dragon, we're going to play a sound, right? So we're going to play a sound, and let's do this. So let's see what they got for sounds here. So if you want to import sounds, you're going to go to the sound bar right here. You're going to come up here to the menu, and we're going to see sounds. And so we're going to look and see what sounds they have. Wow, they don't have a lot of sounds. Okay. And so what you guys are going to be doing today is you're going to be dragging a sound in from the folder, and it's going to be an explosion. Okay, so you're going to hear an explosion when it hits the dragon or when it gets hit by a fireball, right? So we're going to use the same one, explosion. Okay, so we're coming back over here to the scripts, and so now you're going to hit explosion 1, right? So when it hits the dragon, when it touches the dragon, it's going to play a sound of an explosion. Okay, and when that happens, we want to delete the clone. So now we're going to come over here to the Control tab. You're going to click on delete the clone. Now you need to make sure that it is inside the if then block. Okay, so now we're deleting the clone. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the block for if it touches the fireball, right? So we have it if it touches the dragon. Now we want to set it for if it touches the fireball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to duplicate this. And so now when I start as a clone forever, if it's touching the fireball, because we've named it fireball, play the same explosion sound, right? So you're going to have that same explosion sound playing, right? So now when we press play, let's test this out. Let's see how it looks. Oh, hit the dragon, right? So let's move back a little bit. That's the fireball. Ooh, went right through. So we may have to add a couple of more mechanics on here. Boom, all right. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do for this game, pause here, is we're going to come back over to our dragon, okay? And you can see how the dragon keeps kind of slipping behind the background here. And so we want to change that, okay? So let's look and see what we can do. We're going to go to looks, and I'm looking for go to, okay, here we go. So go to front layer. Okay, so when I receive fire, I'm going to make sure that it goes to the front layer. Okay, and I'm also going to put a go to front layer on, let's see, when clicked, we're going to put it right here, and then we're going to make sure that it stays there. Okay, so this should be better. Spacebar. Okay, he's flying now. Okay, so that should be better. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to do is, because this is flying a little bit fast, right? Because going backwards is going to be hard for us. What we're going to do now is we're going to delete our left and our right arrows. Okay, so we're going to delete our left and right arrows. So we're just going to drag those out. And now we're going to change our start position. So we had it starting at X 0, Y 0. And so what now we're going to do is we're going to change that to, so we want them to start here in the back. So let's go -2. -25. Let's see how that looks. And then we'll keep the Y as a 0 and see what happens here. Okay, and so now we also need to add a point in direction. So let's go to motion. And so we're going to hit point in direction. So when it starts, we're going to point in direction of, let's see what we got, to the right, 90. And we're going to change that to -200. Let's see how that looks. All right, so that looks pretty good. And so now we can't go backwards or forwards, but we're always going to be here on the back side, right? And then once we hit that space bar, it's going to look like we're flying, right? And so now we can make this a little bit better. Boom, okay. So you can see that when the fireball is hitting, it's going through several different enemies, and we don't want that to happen, right? We want that fireball to stop too. So now we're gonna hit pause one more time. Okay, and we're on our last part for today, which is gonna be changing the fireball mechanic. So we just changed our placement, right? So we point direction to 90. We're going to -200 on the X. The Y, we're gonna start at 0, so that way we're staying up and down. We've deleted our right and our left keys, right? So now we're up and down only. So that way we're here on the back. And now we're going to change that fireball, right? So now we have to update it a little bit. And how we're going to do this is we're going to be, when I start as a clone, we're going to go back over here. So when I start as a clone, I'm going to forever, and then what I'm going to do is delete. I'm going to make sure it deletes itself when it touches the enemy, right? So forever, and I'm looking for an if then. Here's our if then. Okay. And I'm going to go over to sensing. So sensing is how we do our touch. So if it's touching the fireball, so if it's touching the enemy, right? So if it's touching the enemy, we want to wait. So we're going to wait, and we're going to put it at 0.01 seconds. So that way it's almost instantaneous. And then we're going to delete this clone. All right, so let's see how this looks. All right, so it deletes it now at least. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's hit space. All right, so let's start it one more time. Let's make it big. We're going to test this out and see how this looks. All right, looking pretty good for a start. So this is going to conclude today's tutorial. The next tutorial that we're going to do is we're going to add a score system and a health bar for the dragon. So that way it will start to keep score, and if an enemy gets past you, you're going to lose health. Or if an enemy hits you, you're also going to lose health, right? And so this will conclude the lesson for today. Make sure that we go in and save it. So we're going to come back over here to our file folder. We're going to hit save because we've already saved it before, right? And now we should be good to go. All right, so it's saved. Make sure that you submit your file for today. You are going to be going over here to the export summary. You're going to export this project, and that is what you're submitting. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. If you have any questions, please reach out. And as always, have a great day.